This guest room hadn't been used since the Panorama, the Panna Cotta, the Panda Express, since COVID, you guys. 5 years. Yes, it's been 5 years since COVID. And in today's video, I am going to show you exactly how I transformed this doom room into a calm and welcoming space for the homeowner as well as her guests. I'm Quinn, a professional organizer here in Portland, Oregon, and I would like to say here at the top of the video that this is a non-duality space of absolutely zero judgment. The pandemic was awful. And if you have a room that became a literal and psychological pile of crap stemming from the overwhelm of our collective pain, there is absolutely no shame in that. But it has been 5 years. So if you're feeling ready to let it go, let's go. The best way to begin a journey is to pick a destination, which is why we have to start by anchoring the vision of what we want this room to become in our minds. I like to ask the client if I could wave a magic wand and suddenly this room would be exactly what you envision. How would it make you feel? I feel like I need a wand. Bibbidi, bobbidi, boo. How does the space feel right now? In the case of this particular client, I believe she said it feels expletive annoying. And she said she wanted it to feel cozy, welcoming, and calm. The only way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. And the same holds true for doom rooms. We're not going to get everything done instantaneously. As much as I wish that this magic wand worked that way. Instead, we begin being as prepared as we possibly can and bringing along our cleaning supplies and our vacuum. You're gonna wanna prepare your basic zones: trash, donate, keep, and sell. I recommend big black bags for trash, large boxes for donation, and using the containers that you already have to begin recategorizing your keep items. You can always purchase containers if it turns out that you need them when you get to that point. But for the beginning of this process, there is no purchasing required. Now, when it comes to selling items that you have that you no longer use, I really like to limit this because as humans, we are predisposed to overestimate our own capabilities. One way to be very serious with ourselves about this is to remind ourselves that time is money. Personal possessions, for the most part, are a lot like new cars. As soon as you drive it off that lot, the value tanks. Every item that you want to sell is going to take a significant investment in time for you. Creating an account, taking photos, writing an optimized listing description, and then if you sell the item, you have to either block out time in your day for someone to come over to your home and pick this item up from you, and who wants to interact with strangers, or you have to haul ass over to the post office and drop stuff off. Each item that you're thinking about selling probably represents a minimum of 1 hour of effort. Look at that item and ask yourself, is the amount of time it will take me to potentially sell this item worth it as an hourly wage? Plus, that money is spent, girl. It's gone. You're not getting it back. We have to remember our vision. The task at hand is to get to that destination and not be distracted along the way as much as possible. The best place to start in a doom room, a junk room, a garage that you can no longer walk into, or any space that feels completely overwhelming is with what I like to call the easy wins. I've also heard this referred to as the big rocks, but basically these are the easily identifiable items. So anything that you already know automatically, I don't want this anymore, I don't need this anymore. Anything that's heavy, large, oddly shaped, or immediately identifiable as trash or donate. Start there. It doesn't have to feel like you're making progress. Just start. In the case of this particular client, the first thing we did was get rid of an old bicycle. She said, oh, I've been meaning to sell it. Oh, I've been meaning to fix it. And I asked her, how long has it been since you've ridden it? And how long has it been since you've been meaning to sell or fix it? And she said it had been almost 3 years. So in that case, it's a perfect example of a time when you can just let yourself off the hook. You don't have to sell it or fix it. You can just get rid of it. When you start with these easy win items, you're going to feel the energy in the space start to change. Moving a few big rocks, getting a few easy wins, already you're gonna start to feel things shift, especially if you're able to let go of some larger items like furniture or exercise equipment, anything that's taking up a large footprint of space that you know you don't need anymore. When you let it go, it's going to create the momentum that becomes our motivation for this process. I think it's also important to say at the beginning of a project like this that you don't have to expect yourself to feel like an expert or like you're super confident in your decision making. Your confidence will grow as the process unfolds. So at first, it might feel like you're wrestling more with each item, like, do I want this lamp? Do I not want this lamp? But as you go and the momentum builds, it's going to get easier. No, I don't need that lamp. I have 3 other lamps. Which brings me to another item that's really easy to start with in the big wins, which is multiples. If you enter a space like this and you see already we have, in the case of this client, we had 4 floor lamps in one room. There is only space in this room for 1 floor lamp. So that means the decision-making process becomes easy. Pick your favorite and say goodbye to the others. Once you feel like you've moved through the big wins, you'll know because the process will feel like it's starting to slow down. That's okay. Next step is to create our flagship furniture piece. In the case of this client, it was a cabinet which was going to contain all of her at-home esthetician supplies. She had recently closed a private practice, but was going to continue to see clients in home sometimes. So she needed a space where she could condense all of these supplies into one area. So we chose this white cabinet and we moved it into the space where we wanted it to be. We were able to reuse a set of organization cabinets inside of this cabinet to make it even more practical and useful for her purposes. She already had a closet that had lots of long hanging space, so she really didn't need another cabinet with long hanging space. She needed layers of shelving in order to have space for all of her esthetician supplies. This alone made her start to see the vision. So move your flagship piece of furniture into its new home and prioritize completely cleaning it out and clearing it off. If it has drawers, empty every single drawer, clean them and wipe them out. Before you place it, vacuum the area where it's going to go and then set it in its new home. So this is another good way to start to move through a doom space where everything is mixed together. If you have one type of item that you know you're hunting for to go into your flagship space, you focus on that. Say that you were trying to organize a home office and your flagship piece of furniture might be your desk. Then you know, okay, now we start prioritizing everything that you know you want to keep that's important that should go into the desk. So search out those items. The cleaning part of a huge project like this could feel overwhelming, but the best way to operate is to just work in chunks and clean as you go. You don't need to clean the entire space in one fell swoop. You just need to focus on making progress a little bit at a time. It's also nice, I think, to clean things as we rehome them into their new space. Through the sorting process, you're going to begin to identify groups of items that you want to keep that can be sorted together. This concentric circle sorting process. I like to think of this as sorting jumble by jumble. You might have a bin, a container, a box, a shelf, and in that one area, there could be any and every type of item. What you want to do, instead of focusing the way we did with our flagship furniture item on what goes here, let's find that, the next part of the process is to just focus jumble by jumble. So find a bin, open her up, make ruthlessness and speed and completion your top priorities. Go through an entire bin, shelf, drawer, and think of that as a single assignment. You do not move on until you have gone through everything in that space. Stop. It's important in a project like this to recognize that Rome was not built in a day, and doom rooms are generally not cleared out in a single day. This particular junk room required 3 separate sessions to finalize. The decision-making process of what to keep, what to donate, what to throw away can be very mentally fatiguing. So it's important to quit while you're ahead. We are looking for progress over perfection always. If you're like me and you have perfectionist tendencies, this can be very difficult to adhere to, but you will thank yourself, because going too hard the first day and burning yourself out on the process is going to make it that much easier to close that door again and never come back. A better approach is to stop before you reach your burnout point. Quitting while you're ahead will actually retain your motivation to come back and complete the job. Quit while you're ahead and create an action item list for your next session. In the case of this client, at the end of the first session, the action item list included outsourcing laundry, so taking a large amount of laundry to a fluff and fold, wrangling all of her travel bags and purses into one area, because those were some items that she wanted to store in this room, but they were currently all over the house. So that was a homework assignment. And also, of course, the first round of donations and trash. I highly recommend doing your donations in several trips, because as the project goes on, the pile's going to get larger. So take one carload at a time as you can. This is part of the momentum being our motivation. Dropping off that first load of donation items is going to make you feel awesome. Focus on those feelings. Focus on the wins and trust the process, because just like getting up in drag, this is gonna look a lot worse before it starts to look a lot better. Prioritize the vision that you are creating. It can feel easy to get lost once we're deep in the corn maze, but the vision of what the room will become is the beacon above the fray that we have to keep looking toward. So if you open something up and suddenly you're confronted by memory. Oh, suddenly here's a bunch of photos from middle school. You're not going to get rid of those, but you need to begin sorting them into a place where they can belong. Keep the vision in mind. That is our guiding light. That is our North Star. Continue sorting in concentric circles and working from largest to smallest. Rehome items into their newly optimized and organized locations with an emphasis on creating flow and leaving empty space. Now, with this particular client, as we went through, we discovered that something that had happened in this junk room was that a lot of her medicine cabinet, personal care type of items had kind of migrated and commingled into this room. So we did end up on a slight side quest where we had to go and reorganize. Our side quest stay into the hall closet proved to be really important for understanding how this client would be able to function in this space moving forward, and that involved labeling things. We were able to create labels inside the closet to identify large groups of items, like a bin for anything that had to do with your teeth. So now all your extra floss, spare toothpaste, spare toothbrushes, whitening strips, they all live inside this one bin that says teeth. You will find that as you go, it gets easier. Not only because you've created the momentum that is your motivation to keep going, but also because it's becoming more obvious where things belong. At the beginning of this project, we were discovering a lot of office supplies. And by the middle of the project, we'd identified a drawer where the office supplies were going to go live. So as we kept going, it was just, oh, in that drawer, in that drawer. And that's how it should feel. Within our ruthless decluttering mindset, we're going to try our best to let go of half-finished projects, items that we wanted to do or were going to get to. If you find things like this as you're moving through the process, give yourself permission to let it go. That punch needle portrait of your cat is not the same as raising a kid. You're allowed to quit halfway. I encourage it, in fact. I think a lot of us were raised with toxic perfectionism. Don't start something unless you know you're gonna finish it. But what that ends up actually looking like sometimes is a pile of half-finished things that really just represent guilt that we're putting on to ourselves. And you don't have to. You can just forgive yourself. And finally, we get to my absolute favorite part, which is decorating. We get to hang up the items that you wanted to keep and display the things that really matter. And this is also going to feel so good. Someone once told me, if everything is important, then nothing is important. And I really believe this to be true. By selecting the photos and art pieces that really were the client's favorite, we were able to create a space that felt very intentional. And here is the final reveal. Doom room, no more. This room now feels welcoming, calm, cozy, and comfortable for guests, and also functions as an excellent spare space for the homeowner. And her closet became optimized with storage. Now everything in this closet is super visually and physically accessible. You can open the door and see immediately what's inside. And we're also able to create a space for all of her extra pillows and guest bedding. I recommend putting soft items like pillows and bedding at the top of a closet always, because if they fall down, they're not going to hurt you. So what do you think? How did we do? Is the end result better than the beginning? If you think it's an improvement, give this video a like. And remember, if you have a doom room, there is no shame in it, but you can change it if you want to. And if you're here in Portland, Oregon, and you'd like some professional help, hit me up, girl. I would love to help you out. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye! Chuck loves to bark. No, don't bark.